Hey guys, welcome to another YouTube video, and welcome to the preview of Super Saturday Gather Round edition. So we've got 4 of these matches to do. Instead of the one. Sunday is a little bit calmer with the 3 matches, but this one, oh boy, we've got a lot to talk about here with this here. So run through the matches. So North Melbourne will take on the undefeated Gold Coast Suns at the Barossa. The first AFL match played at the Barossa at Barossa Park. Then you got Carlton, then they got 2 winless sides in the Carlton and the West Coast Eagles playing at the Adelaide Oval. I don't know why that would not be played at the Adelaide Oval. Why that's played at the Adelaide Oval, don't know why. Then probably the match of the weekend, and one, it's a travesty that it's at Norwood, and 2, that it's a travesty that it's a twilight game. It should be a night game at the Adelaide Oval. That is the Western Bulldogs up against the Brisbane Lions. That will be a ripper game, and then the final game on the Saturday night, which will be one of the worst of the day. One of the worst of the day, and probably one of the worst of the round. Let's be honest. I'm not saying this because it involves Essendon, in Melbourne, but anyways, it is the D's and the Dons at Adelaide Oval in the Saturday night game. So potential for maybe 3 of the 4 matches of these matches to be on paper, 3 of the 4 matches to be snooze fests. But realistically, maybe Carlton and West Coast might be a good game because they're both winless and that. But the D's, Dons, and then the Roos and Suns games are probably not going to be good. So, anyways, So first off, let's get into this. So first off, let's get into the North Melbourne Gold Coast game at the Barossa, the first game ever in the AFL to be played at the Barossa Valley. So first, as usual, let's get to the team lineups here. So 3 changes to North Melbourne's side. They got battered by the Sydney Swans last week on their home turf. I mean the 3, obviously, but of course Robert Hansen Jr., Matt Whitelock, and probably the big one out of the 3 is Bailey Scott being out. I believe that to be omitted, I think. And coming in for those would be Finn O'Sullivan, Zane Dersma, and Zach Fisher. Especially that will be the big in Zach Fisher for North. While for the Gold Coast Suns, only the 1 change to come out of that 1-point win against the Crows last week up at I'm just gonna say Carrara because they've had so many name changes there. So I'm just gonna say Carrara. Connor Butterick is out, and Nick Holman is in for the Gold Coast Suns. So let's go to lineups here. So from the back, so let's firstly go with North Melbourne, and from the back line you got Charlie Comben, an informed Charlie Comben to be honest. Aidan Core and Griffin Logue. At the half-back line, you got Luke McDonald, Caleb Daniel, and Darcy Tucker. In the centre, you got Finn O'Sullivan, Tom Powell, and Colby McKercher. In the half-forward line, you got Paul Curtis, Nick Larkey, or let me rephrase that, Coleman medal leader Nick Larkey. And Harry Sheezel. And then the fourth one, I got Cameron Zaha, Jack Darling, and Jacob Constancy. there. The followers, you got Tristan Sherry, Luke Davies Uniac, who just, which got announced today actually as I'm recording this. He had signed a 7-year contract extension. I think, which is worth around $11 million. Actually, 11 million over 7 years. So over $1 million a year from my quick maths there, and then also Jai Simpkin as the followers as well. Then as interchange, I think Zane. An interchange Zane Dersma, Dylan Stevens, Zach Fisher, Riley Hardiman, and Luke Parker, with their emergencies being Bailey Scott, Toby Pink, and Bryn Tinkle, their emergencies. So pretty. Hopefully, it's more of a interesting game compared to their game against Sydney, where they got battered on their home turf. Let's be honest with you, but they're coming across this Gold Coast Suns side, which are one of the informed sides of the competition right now. They're still undefeated, with games in hand, obviously, with a game in hand, obviously, against Essendon, which was that cancelled opening round game. So let's name this ridiculously talented lineup. From the fullback line, you got Will Powell, Sam Collins, and Bodie Hewland. In the half-back line, you've got John Noble, Mac Andrew, and Daniel Rioli. In the centre, you got Lockie Weller, Matt Rao, and Sam Closey. On the half forward line, you've got Ben Ainsworth, Took Miller, and Sam Flanders. And the full forward line, you've got Ben King, Bailey Humphrey, and Ethan Reid. And the followers, you got Big Jared Witts, Will Graham, and Noah Anderson. And on the interchange bench, there are Jed Walter, Nick Holman, Ben Long, Jake Rogers, and Joel Jeffrey, with their emergencies Braden Fiorini, Ned Moylan, and Callum Graham. So that is a pretty talented side right there, and yeah. And if let's just say so let's get to the other statistics here. Leading into this game, obviously, North Melbourne coming to it 1-3, need to bounce back from being battered against the Swans. While Gold Coast, if they win, it'll be the first time in club history that they start the season 4-0. So that is another. And that could set them up very, very well for their first ever final series, most definitely. The ones to look out for in this match. I believe it's the same as the Friday night game. I said in the Friday night game, preview. It's down to the two rucks. I think Tristan Sherry. These, I think right now we've got one of the top 3 best ruckmen in the league in Jared Witts versus the most underrated ruckman in the league in Tristan Sherry. They've been in outstanding form, especially Sherry, even though in a side that probably is to get smashed by 9 to 10 goals every week. So with that in mind, and then obviously, the talent in that midfield. I mean, going back to the lineup real quick. I mean, you compared to North Melbourne, where you could have, Davies Jr. could go in there, Simpkin can go in there, Who else? Who else could go? Who else could go in there? Maybe Sheasel can go in there, and that's really about it. Well, for the Gold Coast, you got Miller, Rao, Anderson, Flanders, Humphrey. Who else? Who else? Who else is in there? That's pretty much about it. Even in the emergencies, Fiorini as well. Add him into the list as well. I mean, that is a hell of a lot of midfield depth and talented midfield depth that will not only overpower North Melbourne, but seriously overwhelm them in a way. And if I'm being, and to be honest, if I'm Ben King, I'd be licking my chops right now. I'll be licking my chops right now, and if I was Clarko, I would immediately put Charlie Comben on Ben King, because that's if even if someone like, I don't know, if for example Ainsworth can kick a couple of goals, who else to be in there? Anderson can kick a couple of goals, and all that. But the big thing would be, you wouldn't get a key forward in Ben King that kicks 5 or 6 goals on you, 5 or 6 goals in a week. I think that in a game, I think if Aiden Core gets put on him, then there's the opportunity of kicking 4 or 5 goals on him, most definitely. But if Comben, but for Comben, I think there might be the chance maybe that you might restrict him to 2, maybe 1 goal, maybe even keep him goalless as well. So that would be one there to look out for the Gold Coast Suns. Now, I forgot to mention at the start, I'll do all of my bold predictions and predictions for all 4 results at the end of the video. So please keep watching this. Keep watching it until the end of the video for my predictions on who will win each of these 4 games on Super Saturday, if I do remember. Next game, Adelaide Oval, Carlton versus West Coast. 2 winless sides yet to get their first win. It's guaranteed, unless it's a draw, they get it. One of these 2 teams will get their first win of the season. Looking at their lineups here, there are a string of changes, all for both sides. First off, we get to Carlton here. Got 4 changes to the side that got beaten by Collingwood last week. Lewis Young, Lachlan Cowan, Ashton Moore, and Cooper Lord are out, and there are a couple of big ins for Carlton. Matthew Carroll in for his debut. Corey Durden, Matthew Cottrell, and then there's a massive one in Harry Mackay, who has it was missed the first few rounds of the season, due to personal reasons. Spent last week playing the VFL, which had which was criticised a lot all over the AFL landscape over the last week or so. Yeah, so those are big ins there, but it doesn't mean West Coast have got big ins too, because but also they have a big out as well. So 4 changes, 4 changes to their team. Tyler Brockman is out, Noah Long and Tom Cole are out, but the big one is big out, who has been dropped, mind you, is one Tim Kelly, who's been their mainstay, their midfield for the last 3-4 years, has been dropped in a big big statement by Andrew McQualter. Massive statement from him to say, I'm not being fooled around. I'm going to make big decisions. First of all, Timmy, you're dropped. You're gone. You're going to the waffle. So and I hope he does do this more over the next couple of weeks. Hopefully, he does too. And then there's a couple of big ins too for the Eagles. Harry Edwards is in, Jack Hutchison is in, but the two big ins are top goal scorer from last year, Jake Waterman, and Felan Liam Ryan is in as well. So just to add that bit to those two ins there, to add a bit of spark up forward for the Eagles. So let's get to the lineups here. So first off with Carlton, just as usual, let's take us off the usual. So from the fullback line, you got Jack Silvani, Jacob Wiedering, and Nick Haynes. In the halfback line, you got Adam Sard in his 200th game, 200th AFL game. Mitch McGovern and Zach Williams. In the centre, you got Blake Acres, Patrick Cripps, and Adam Chera. In the half forward line, you got Lockie Fogarty, Harry Mackay, and Sam Doherty. In the full forward line, you got Matthew Cottrell, Charlie Curnow, and Jesse Motlop. In the followers, you got Tom De Koning as ruck, George Hewitt, and then George Hewitt and Sam Walsh as the on ballers. On the interchange bench, you got Matthew Carroll on debut, Ollie Hollins, Brody Kemp, Corey Durden, and Will White, with their emergencies being Elijah Hollins, Lewis Young, and Cooper Lord. That is the lineup for Carlton. Now let's go to the West Coast Eagles. So from the halfback line, fullback line, you got Brody. Excuse me, I just ran out of breath there for a second. Brady Hall. You got Harry Edwards and Ruben Jimby. In the halfback line, you got Jaden Hunt, Sandy Brock, who debuted last week. Now, if you guys are motor racing fans and with Peter Brock, that is Peter Brock's nephew. That is Phil Brock's son. So one to remember there. And Ryan Marrick. In the centre, you got Tyler Dwyer, Liam Duggan, and Jack Graham. In the halfback line, you got Jamie Cripps, Jake Waterman, and Matthew Owes. And in the full forward line, you got Archer Reid, Oscar Allen, and Liam Ryan. And the followers, you got Bailey Williams in the ruck, with Liam Baker and Harley Reid as their on-ballers. On the interchange bench, you got Tom Gross, Clay Hall, Jack Williams, Hamish Davis, and Jack Hutchison. On the interchange bench, their emergencies are Harvey Johnston, Matt Flynn, and Tom Cole. So those are their emergencies. Those are the lineups there for both sides in this game. For the game on Sunday afternoon. So looking at this here, I mean, it's simple. Both sides are winless from their first 4 games. Looking at that side, even though I think there's more for Carlton to lose. It's more for Carlton if they go to 0-5. That's probably, if that happens, then all hell's going to break loose over at Princess Park. All hell's going to break loose over there, to be quite honest with you. Honest with you here. And then, of course, you got West Coast, who've got nothing to lose. They've got nothing to lose. They've got a young side on the big stage at Gather Round, on the Adelaide Oval. As I said, they've got nothing to lose. Got nothing to lose and everything to prove, is the old saying. Yeah. So all the pressure's on Carlton. Let's put it that way. All the pressure's on them because everybody thought they were going to be a finals contender, and with them being at 0-5, that is, and with their next month not getting any better, there's the real possibility that this slow start could bite them in the backside when it comes to later in the year. Well, you never know. We said that in 2023 halfway through, and then somehow they got it all together and they went from that to potentially were 20 points off making a grand final. So it can be done, but it'll be a long road from here, back from here. So all Carlton need to do is just do what they have to do, and that is get across the line in this game. But if they don't, there are going to be massive repercussions from this performance if they don't win this game. Hands down, simple as that. Let's be honest here. Let's be honest here with that. So that I think and then obviously the big talking point for is with Mackay out, and then obviously with Curno's confidence being shattered with not having Mackay there, and then now is there going to be possible cracks for them, because obviously Mackay hasn't played a lot so far this year. He's only had one game in the VFL as far as I know. And then Curno's been the guy that he's just basically been doing what Mackay's been doing, which is not he's Mackay's the guy that basically roams, goes up the ground and that, while Curno's basically the stay-at-home forward, pretty much. It plays the deepest key forward. That's what Carlton's been running with for the last couple of years, with varying degrees of success. But that's one thing I'm going to be keeping an eye on is, are they going to get in each other's way because they haven't played a lot with each other so far this year. So that's what I'm going to be looking out for when it comes to Saturday. And then for West Coast, speaking of key forwards, I want to see how Oscar Allen. I would love to see Oscar Allen come out after all the rumours he had to address surrounding him meeting up with Sam Mitchell, and then obviously the report came out on Tuesday during the Gather Round at Barossa show on Tuesday night on the Nine Network, which was reported by chief football reporter at the Nine Network in Tom Morris, reported that if Oscar Allen was to leave at the end of the season, it would be to Brisbane. It would be to the Brisbane Lions for 3 reasons. One, obviously, to win a premiership. Obviously. Number 2, I know 2 out of the 3 reasons. One is to win a premier. One is to win a premiership. 2, I'm trying to think of the second reason, and then the third reason. Can't think of the second reason, but the third reason is to do what Lincoln McCarthy and Joe Danaher had done with their previous clubs, having injury history being the latest one to do that, where basically Brisbane, they've had a great reputation of sorting out other people's chronic injury with people with injury problems when they come to Brisbane and they play game on game on game. I think Dadaher, I remember at Essendon, he only played for 2018 to 2020. He only played a handful of games. I think about 6. I think about 15, 16 games in about 3 years. And I think from 2021 through to the 2024 grand final when he retired, he played, I think, every single game for Brisbane, including finals, every single game. So it can be done. So I wonder if Oscar Allen will come out and just say, you know what, about this trade BS, about this Sam Mitchell meeting to BS. I'm going to prove that as a captain that my actions on the field do the talking. That's what I think what Oscar Allen will do, and plus we're on the biggest stage, one of the biggest stages ever in Gather Round. I mean that's how you do it. But yeah, so yes, that's going to be pretty interesting there on that front. Moving on to game number 3, and that is probably the contender for game of the day, and that is, as I said at the start, 1, it's a travesty, it's going to be a Twilight game, and 2, travesty playing at Norwood and not the Adelaide Oval, and that is the Western Bulldogs up against the Brisbane Lions. So Brisbane, straight to them, no changes for them, no changes at all from them from last week. And then for the Western Bulldogs, they've had 3 changes. 3 changes from their side. Oscar Baker, Leighton Vandermeer, Harvey Gallagher, and Oscar Baker, I should say, are out with Baker out due to suspension. And their ins are Cooper Hines. Cooper Hines make his debut. Luke Cleary and Jason Johannisen comes into the side. You know, the Bulldogs veterans. So yeah. And I said Brisbane, no changes there to their side too. Let's get to the team lineups here, just standard as usual. So for the fullback line, you've got Buku Karmas, Liam Bones-Jones, and Lachlan Gramble. And the halfback line, you've got returning Jason Johannisen, Rory Lobb, and Bailey Dale. In the centres, you've got Bailey Williams, Tom Liberatore, and Sam Davidson. And the half-forward line, you've got Cooper Hines, Aaron Norton, and Riley Sanders. Or Sanders. I think it's Sanders. And then in the full forward line, you've got James O'Donnell, Sam Darcy, and James Harms, with their followers being Tim English in the ruck, and the on-ballers being Matthew Kennedy and Ed Jones for a second. Ed Richards, I should say. And on the interchange bench for them, you got Luke Cleary, Josh Dolan, Joel Frazier, Lachlan McNeil, and Riley West, with their emergencies being Jed Buslinger, Harvey Gallagher, and Caleb Poulter. So yeah, and then you got Brisbane. As I said, same side that beat Richmond at the MCG last week. You got it from the fullback line. You got Dane Zorko, Jack Payne, and Riley Lester. Ryan Lester, I should say. Apologies for that. Then the halfback line, you got Noah Ainsworth, Harris Andrews, and Darcy Wilmot. In the center, you got Jasper Fletcher, Zach Bailey, and Jared Berry. And then the half forward line, you got Charlie Cameron, Eric Hipwood, and Hugh McCluggage. Then the full forward line, you've got Cam Rayner, Sam Day, and Logan Morris. And with their followers, their ruckman is the Big O, Oscar McInerney, and their on-ballers, as usual, are Josh Dunkley and Lockie Neal. On the interchange bench, you got Calamachi, the Ashcroft brothers, Will and Levi, Will McLaughlin and Bruce Revel, with their emergencies being Sam Marshall, Darcy Gardner, and Darcy Fort as are the ones in their lineup. So to get to this game here, so pretty different, obviously. The Bulldogs right now, equal leisure, 2-2. Of course, they had their frustrating defeat to the Fremantle Dockers. The Dockers absolutely destroyed them for 3 quarters, and then dropped their intensity at the last quarter. The Dogs came back late, but really it was too late really for them, and the Dockers took the win in the end. So I think for me, in a lot of ways, they pretty much they really need to win. Otherwise their record's going to be on the wrong side of the ledger at 3-2 instead of 2-3 instead of 3-2. Let's be quite honest here with that. But yeah, so I think for me, and with the fact that with all their big stars, including Bontempelli out still, it's they really do need to get those wins when the Bond's not there, to really help them, because they're winning when Bond's not there. God, that is not good news for the competition if the Bulldogs aren't winning with the Bond. But if it's not going that well in terms of win-loss record, when the Bond comes back, then there's pressure on the Bond to deliver with him back in the side. So yeah, while Brisbane, on the other hand, the reigning premiers, they just keep rolling along. I mean, what is that now? That's because I think they lost round 23. That lost round 23 against Collingwood in the thriller. Then they beat Essendon, and then they won all 4 finals to win the premiership. So that's 5, and they're currently 4-6. So I think that's 9 in a row. Now, I think they've hit 9. I think that's 9 in a row, and how things can change in 12 months. I mean, this time last year they were 0-3, chasing their first win of the season in Gather Round. Now they entered this year's undefeated. I mean, how things can change in 12 months, really, and 5-0 start would really set up their premiership defence. Really, I mean really set it up. Let's be honest here, and it's mind-boggling to reading this here that they've never started a season 5-0 in their club history. Not even when they were winning those premierships in 01, 02, and 03. They never went 5-0 to start the season. They never did. And this could be the chance, and they could do that this year. It's just that's absolutely mind-boggling. I thought they would have done it, when when they were in their dominant period, 102 and 03. They never did it, and this could be the chance for them to do it. The spotlight I'm going to put on is the Bulldogs midfield. With Bontempelli, as I said, with Bontempelli still a couple 2 or 3 weeks away from returning. All the pressure is on that midfield. In comparison to the midfield of let's say here Dunkley, Neal, Berry, Fletcher, the Ashcroft brothers. I mean that is I immediately said I said about the midfield depth of the Gold Coast Suns earlier on in the video. This midfield has massive depth. It has massive depth. Both of young and experience as well. So I think that is for me there, and I think for me for me there's the possibility that with Bond not there and with Libba carrying the load, I can see definitely the Lions midfielders having a field day. I can possibly see that happening. All the midfielders having a field day, and also the forward line having a field day too, because that midfield's going to get a lot of ball into the forward line. So that for me, that's a plus for me, in my opinion, really. So I think for me, that's probably for me the big takeaway really from that game. Really, it is, I think for me, and then also the wingers, especially with Norwood being such a skinny ground, I think for me the wingers can play a big part in this game. To be honest, here, look at their both wingers here. I mean, you got Bailey Williams and Sam Davidson on the wings. Not good. Both of them. One is experienced, not as experienced. One is just starting out, and then add to that with Jasper Fletcher and Jared Berry. Those are very good, who are very, very good wingers. Especially Jared Berry, one of the most underrated wingmen in the competition. They could carve them up to pieces. They could basically be like a third on ball, by a fourth on baller, pretty much, because of how skinny the ground is at Norwood. So pretty much that could be the case. That could be the case there. Now, finally, for the fourth and final game, probably one of the worst games of the day, probably, in my opinion. It is of course the Melbourne Essendon game. Still can't believe why they would put this game at the Adelaide Oval on a Saturday night. I mean, seriously, why didn't they put this game as the Norwood Saturday Twilight game instead of having this as a Saturday night game at Adelaide Oval? Probably because both of them are big clubs in Melbourne, probably. So changes there. So surprisingly, only the one change for Melbourne, despite their bad start, their horrible start to the season, and their bad loss against Geelong down at the Cattery last week. One change with Daniel Turner being out and Xavier Lindsay being in. Two changes for Essendon. Jai Caldwell is out with an injury that was occurred during training during the bye week, and also Tom Edwards, which was the sad news about obviously him getting the last spot on the Essendon list 4 weeks into the season, ruptures his ACL, is out for the season. That is, and I hope they do, and I hope that they re-sign this bloke. I hope they do. I hope Essendon do re-sign this bloke. And obviously their ins being Archie Perkins and Will Setterfield. They're coming in for the Dons. So let's get to the lineups here. So from the fullback line, you got Jake Bowie, Stephen May, and Harrison Petty. From the halfback line, you got Trent Rivers, Tom McDonald, and Christian Salem. In the centers, you got Kay Chandler, Jack Miney, and Ed Langdon. In the half forward line, you got Jack Henderson, Bailey Fritsch, and Cossie Pickett. Then the full forward line, you got Jake Melcham, Jacob Van Rooyen, and Charlie Spargo. There with in the followers, you got Big Max Gorn, Christian Petrarca, and Harvey Langford. With then on the interchange bench, you got Caleb Windsor, Clayton Oliver, Xavier Lindsay, Harry Sharp, and Tom Sparrow playing his 100th game on the Saturday night. So congratulations to him on that front. While for the Mighty Dons, their lineup is this. So from the fullback line, you got Andy McGrath, Ben Mackay, and Jordan Ridley. On the halfback line, you've got Mason Redmond, Zach Reed, and Jackson Pryor. In the centers, you've got Xavier Dersma, Archie Perkins, and Archie in Roberts. In the half forward line, you've got Jay Gresham, Nate Caddy, and Nick Martin. And the full forward line, you got Harrison Jones, Sam Draper, and Isaac Kako. In the followers, you got Nick Bryan, Zach Merritt, and Sam Durham. And then on the interchange bench, you got Ben Hobbs, Dylan Shield, Will Setterfield, Jai Menzies, and Saad El Hawkey, I think that's how you say it. With their emergencies being Elijah Tasadis, Lewis Hayes, and Archie Day Wicks. So that's the lineups there for both of these teams. So yeah, so let's get to obviously here. So obviously, Melbourne, same as Carlton, they do not want to go to 0-5. Let's just put it that way. There. I mean, it's just with them. A loss here against the Dons would really put them really truly behind the 8 ball, really. And then obviously with Essendon, yes, they got their form back with a win over Port Adelaide, but it was a kind of a low scoring game. And it was probably a confidence boosting win for the defenders because the defense got criticised the heck out of, and so it should after the performance against the Crows the week before that. So I think for me here, I think for me, the same thing as Carlton. All the pressure's on Melbourne because they go 0-5, then their season's pretty much almost half over with it being 0-5, and then Essendon. Essendon, they would improve to 2-3 with a game in hand, and who knows where that Gold Coast Suns game down at Carrara will go. They could possibly be at this point, they could be 3-3, or they could be 2-4. You never know with that. Let's be honest. So I think for me, that I think Essendon, they need to, I think the last couple of seasons under Brad Scott's been the exact same thing. They've even won. They haven't had a positive win-loss record in the first 5 games of the season these last 2 years under Brad Scott. It's just been round 6 to 11. That's when we start getting going, and then of course we tanked at the end of the season. As we all know, but I think historically we've never had I think 2023 in the first 5 rounds we were I think we were 2-3. I remember rightly. Because we won our first 2 games, then we lost our previous 2, then we won a Gather Round. So we've never headed into Gather Round with a positive win-loss record. Even last year when we got smashed by Port Adelaide, we weren't going that well at that time either. So we've never gone into a Gather Round with a positive win-loss record ever in the last 3 years. It's the same here. So maybe it's. I mean, for me, the sport I'm going to put on is the whole Melbourne team. I mean, yes, they're out of form. Yes, I mean that what Christian Matraka's emotion at the end of the Geelong game last week, that just says it all of where Melbourne are at, because it's just frustrating and disappointing, really. So I think for me, in terms of that, I think and can they, can they at times put an Essendon side that is too reliant, as often at times a reputation is being too reliant on Zach Merritt to get him out of trouble. Can they find someone to tag him and then have rely on no influence from other Essendon ballers to get him out of trouble? That's the big question being thrown around. But yeah, so I think for me, in a lot of ways, I mean that could be the case there. That could be the case there. I think for Melbourne, all they need is one win. I think all they need is one win to get that confidence boosting win that they need. And so too with a lot of other clubs that are also down the bottom end of the ladder. So before I head to the results here, I want to get to firstly. I've saved this to last for a very good reason. That is, who do I think will be the subs? So first off, North Melbourne Gold Coast game. Who do I think will be the sub? I think it could be out of Riley Hardiman. I think it could be Riley Hardiman. There could be a chance that it could be Riley Hardiman. And then for the Gold Coast Suns, I think it could be Nick Holman. I mean, you could say Joel Jeffrey, but Holman he can produce also his own spark up forward too, and he can kick a goal or two. So maybe they can go with him. Carlton West Coast subs. I think there could be. I think it could be Corey. I think for Carlton, I think it could be Corey Durden. And then for West Coast, that one's hard. I don't know for West Coast, 'cause I don't know these players. I'm just gonna throw around about there. Jack Hutchison, maybe, because obviously he's one of the new ins, so maybe he will be the sub. I don't know. Yeah, Doggy's Brizzy. I think for me, easily for Brisbane, it's gonna be Bruce Breville. It's gonna be him, and then for the Doggies. I would have Riley West. I would choose Riley West to be the sub because he can be a good target. He'd be a good backman. He's a good backman. He can go back. He can defend. And then he can go forward and kick goals. Yeah, I would love to see that there happen there. So that would be my 2 tips for that, and then. The sum for the D's Dons game. For Melbourne, who can I think? It's either Xavier Lindsay or Harry Sharp. I think, based on the ins and outs, I think maybe Xavier Lindsay might be the sub. And then for Essendon, I think the week, I think. In the last game against Port Adelaide, I think Joy Menzies was the sub, I swear Joy Menzies was the sub. I'm gonna double check that here. I'm gonna double check that because I swear down that Joy Menzies was the sub. No, it was Sad or Kelly. That was the sub. So maybe they might go for him again. They might go for him again. Or, I mean, look at their forward line. There's not much small forwards there. I mean, you got Kako. Basically, got Kako, who's. Sorry, guys. Bumped the camera there. So as I. Bit of technical difficulties here. So I think for me, just in the camera. There we go. We're back. So it could maybe Joy Menzies. It could be or it could be it could be Sard. It could be I'm just gonna call him SEH. I'm just going to say it because obviously it's very hard to pronounce the last name. So I might say SEH from now on. So I think he might be the sub again, or it might be Joy Menzies, based on the fact that basically Kako's the only small forward there. I mean, you got Martin, who's played mostly as a winger or as on half back. Gresham you can't classify him as a small forward. And then you got Harrison Jones, who's mostly been played everywhere throughout his career. So I think for me, in a lot of ways, I think for me, I think in my opinion, maybe there might be a situation where they might take Jackson Pryor off and put or. I don't know. I don't know, to be honest, but what they think about. But I think Xavier Lindsay, and I'll go I'll go SEH as the subs for the D's and the Dons game. So now finally for the result, for my predicted results and for the bold prediction too. So firstly, for the Gold Coast and North Melbourne, it's an easy result. I think for me, it will be. I think Gold Coast easily by 10 goals, or even more than that. I'm gonna say I'll say 60. I'll say halfway between 10 to 11 goals. So I'll say 63 points, and I think. I think Ben King will kick 6 goals. Will kick 7. I think Ben King will kick 7. That is if Charlie Comben doesn't play on him. I think if he does, then I think he might get 1 to 2. But if Hayden Cole or Griffin Logue play on him, then there's more a chance that he might have a big day out and kick 6 or 7 straight there. There in that game. Carlton West Coast. I think I don't know why. I think this could be a close game because of what's on the line here. What's possibly because of the consequences of this being 0-5 at the end of this round. I think for me, I think I'm still going to go Carlton. But not by as much as you think. As people think. I think they'll win by. I think it'll be a close game all the way through. I think for me it could be the possibility. It could be like the same as West Coast game with Brisbane, where and they might learn from that. Where they ran out of legs in that game. Maybe they learn from that. But I don't see them winning the game. I think for me, Carlton will win the game by 10 points. I think it'll be a close game all the way through. Carlton kick away, and they'll win the game by 10. For sure for me. And the bold prediction, I think, despite Carlton winning the game, I think Mackay and Curnow will have 2 goals between them. I don't see them kicking multiple goals, especially when they might prove me wrong. But I don't think with Mackay's first game back, I don't see them having their connection like they previously had straight away. I just don't see it. I'll be surprised they do, but yeah. But anyways, and at a further bold prediction, I think Waterman. I mean, forwards have been known in the last couple of years to kick a bag in their return. I wonder if Jake Waterman might do the same thing. Might kick 4 or 5 goals. Might kick 4 or 5 goals because the Carlton defense it's not as good as what it has been. Let's put it that way. So yeah. Doggies Brizzy. I think it'll be Brisbane, and they'll go 5-0 for the first time in their club history, which is still astounding. But for some reason, I mean, with the firepower that both teams have in their forward line, with Doggies with Sam Darcy, Norton, and then you have Brisbane with Cameron, Hipwood, Rayner, Lance Morris, Calamar Chi, coming off the bench. They might potentially. This might potentially be like a shootout. To be honest, with the skinny ground, I think there's the chance that it could potentially maybe play good. It will be. I think for me, at least, I think it could, because the back line. Yes, Brisbane is great, but and then of course you got in the back line there. Is the Bulldogs' defense great? Not really. Let's put it that way. But yeah. On that front, yeah, could be. It could be better. So I think Brisbane. by 20 points. Bold prediction. I think both teams will score 100 points plus. That will be a big ask. But with the skinny ground, I think they can potentially do that. Then now finally the D's Dons game. Oh, I don't know where it's gonna go. To be quite honest, I don't know where it's gonna go. I think for me, I think Essendon can win. But I think a Melbourne win is also a possibility. I think there's more a chance that Essendon could win this game and condemn Melbourne to 0-5. But it's been known that every time basically Essendon play Melbourne earlier in the season, they win. It's when they play Melbourne later in the year, they always lose. So that's the tough part for me. So, but I think Essendon could win this one, and probably I could see this one going down to the wire, because I would assume Melbourne would really be desperate not to go 0-5. But I think for me, I think Essendon could win this one, by 4 points, and I think this young guy, for Essendon, I think I think he hasn't had the breakout game which we all thought. We haven't seen him produce a breakout game. But to be honest, probably the round 22 game. But this could be the real breakout performance for this guy, young Nate Caddy. There could be the chance that he could have a breakout game. Now he's playing on Tom McDonald. Tom McDonald, obviously. So he's got more experience than Nate Caddy. But I think for me, if Caddy can get him on the lead, then there's a strong chance he can have a day out. But it'll be based on if Essendon are willing to give him the fast ball movement to give him that ball up forward. That's probably the way I would go about it. But I think Essendon by 4 points. Nate Caddy to have a breakout game of about 4 goals. Let's get be appropriate, Mark. 4 goals. Yeah. So I think if I get that right, I will be everyone just praise me in the comments. But anyways, that's just about it, really. So I've been blabbing on for the last hour and 3 minutes. I'm gonna flick on the TV and watch the Collingwood Sydney game. So like this video, share this to anybody who is a Gold Coast fan or a Carlton fan or an Essendon fan like me. Comment down below what are your predictions on this game, on these games, for each of these 4 games, and also your bold predictions for all 4 of these games. I would love to hear them all. And last but not least, somewhere down there, click on the big red button which is labeled subscribe. It really does help me out quite a bit, as this is probably one of the busiest months of the year, with Gather Round, then the Easter weekend, and then Anzac weekend as well. So it's going to be a pretty busy week here on the busy month here on the channel. But until next time, guys, I'll see yous all later.